welcome back to our morning mindset. We're talking about the season of in between. You receive a dream from God and then you see it fulfilled. However, it's not that fast. There's this season of in between. What's going on? Well, we've been talking about the life of Joseph. And in Psalm 105, it says, during this process, from when he received the dream to when it was fulfilled, the word of the Lord was testing him. See, we go through all these tests, and I want to highlight a couple more tests to you today. The next test to talk about is the power test. Joseph, he's in prison, he gets some authority, and as a result of that, the baker and the butler, they come to him and they say, we have dreams. And Joseph interpreted the dreams, and he said, in 3 days to the baker, the king is going to lift your head up. And he says to the butler, the king's going to raise you up in 3 days, up and out of here, and you're going to serve in his household again. And then he tells him, and when you get out, remember me. Well, he forgets all about him. However, later on, the king has a dream, and the butler remembers him. Joseph gets to go before the king, and he receives the interpretation of the dream. And the king, Pharaoh, basically, he exalts Joseph to this place where now he has authority and power over the people. He's the second in command. You see, some of the tests that we go through aren't always bad things or negative or hard in our life. Sometimes the tests that we are walking through are good things. For example, Joseph now had power and authority over people. And the question is, in a situation like that, how do you carry yourself when you have power? When you have power, how do you use that to serve other people? What do you do when good things happen? Do you give credit to God? Do you use that power to help those who are weak? Are you using your new position to lift other people up? It's all a test. And so you have not arrived yet just because you have some good things happening and it's clearly God's doing. This is still part of the testing process. Will you use your power to serve others? There's another test, and it's the prosperity test. This is a great test, much better than a poverty test. What do you do when you don't have anything? The prosperity test, though, it still tests us. What do you do with the power that money gives? For example, sometimes you're believing God for a career that's, it's an alignment with your assignment and calling, and it's going to be lucrative. You're going to get into a good place, take care of you, your family, be able to do some things that maybe you weren't able to do before. And you start to get promoted. What do you do with the increase of finances? How do you handle that? Do you tithe? Now, do you give? Do you use this to help others? What do you do with the prosperity that God gives you? You have a bigger house. Do you use that house for the kingdom of God? Do you use this house and open it up for hospitality? Do you use this for ministry, your car, the things that God gives you? Everything is a test. And with prosperity, it's a blessing, and you have opportunity to use that to advance the kingdom. And if you withhold during that time, you can fail the test. But just remember, it's a test, and it's part of the process. God takes you from the pit to the palace. He tests you with purity, through prison, through power, through prosperity. And then we get to probably one of the final and most important tests that we need to pass, and it's the pardon test. This is where Joseph finally gets to the point where his brothers come in. They all bow down before him, and Joseph reveals himself to his brothers, and he remembers the dream that he had. At that moment, he's able to either hold against them unforgiveness, bitterness, even hatred because of what they did to him and what it cost him. And what they did was wrong. It cost him tremendously. They were slime balls. They were terrible people. These guys were not good people, and they did not deserve forgiveness. They didn't even ask for it. Until later, when after their dad died, They came together and they lied to Joseph and said, hey, Dad said before he died, would you please forgive us because of what we did? Their dad never knew what they did. They had lied to their dad and told him that Joseph was killed in the beginning. These guys were terrible people. However, Joseph had already in his heart dealt with the issue of unforgiveness. And he said, oh, God sent me ahead of you so he can prepare me and prepare a place for you. And I think that's so important, is keeping perspective. When other people are trying to do you wrong, know this, that God will even take the wrong things they're doing and work them out for your good. If you will keep your heart right before the Lord, if you will keep perspective and see what is God doing in the midst of this, this will work out for my favor. It's all a test. Will you forgive others? If you can't forgive, you fail that test and you won't see that dream come to pass. We're going to talk more about this in the next Morning Mindset.